Why are Christian kingdom men not exciting and boring? And really, this could go for both. Why are Christian men, women boring? All right, so I got another question that's coming in later on. I might or might not be able to get to it. The other one is, are Christian men more attracted to non-Christian women? So basically, essentially the same thing. This one asks, why are Christian men not exciting and why are they boring? The other question that I have is, are Christian men more attracted to non-Christian women? Those seem like two different questions, but in reality, they're the same thing. So this kind of refers to the last point of what we were just talking about. And that's that, like, someone can have a heart after God, but having a heart after God doesn't mean you have a personality. And that's something that sometimes Christians or believers don't understand. People think, oh, because I'm close to Jesus, because I'm a Christian, because I'm close to God, therefore I have everything that I need. I love Jesus. I have good morals. It's like, no, people actually care for you to bring more than just that to the table. That's something that people overlook like way too often. They think that just because you love Jesus, that's all you need. And this is something that, depending on someone's church, depending on their Christian family, or even depending on the Christian, this is something that affects a lot of Christians, to where many Christians don't have personalities. It's very similar. It's very similar to other groups that are like these small kind of niche subgroups. Because even if we're talking about like groups who like anime, people who like anime a lot, like y'all know, like the Japanese animation nerd people, or people who play a bunch of video games, all they do are play video games. You know, you could almost take your pick of any kind of niche category where there are these people who are just really sweaty, they don't take enough showers, they're just really weird. And they think people think they're weird because of what they're into, but more often than not, they're weird because they're only into their own little category, their own little part of the world. They don't understand fashion. They don't understand slang. They don't actually have a personality outside of this thing that they're really into. And that's how some Christians are. Some Christians are so involved in Christianity, so involved in the church. All they know are three-piece Sunday suits. They know how to shout dance. They know how to whoop and holler. They know how to, they know all of those things. They can tell you about the anointing. They can tell you about how to pray in tongues. They can teach you all of these things, but they can't talk anything practical. Anything practical. And it's very important that as Christians, it's kind of like the homeschool thing, where there are kids who are homeschooled and they're very weird because their family never allowed them to experience life outside of just being homeschooled. And then there are other kids who are homeschooled where they're not as socially awkward or socially weird because their parents made sure that they had friends outside of their family. Their parents made sure that they were able to interact with other kids in the neighborhood. So that way they were able to be more socially acceptable. Unfortunately, this is something that's befalling a lot of Christians, and I deal with it a lot. A lot of Christians, oftentimes, that they come at me, are these Christians where I can tell, like, you really haven't experienced life. Because if you did, you would know that half the things that you're saying are really ridiculous. You see it all the time. When we had the conversation about sex and about, different things you could do to work on your sex life and your marriage. And maybe you could go to like a sex therapist or something like that, or you can read some books. And then you see some Christians that's like, well, no, none of that stuff matters. All you need is Jesus. All you need is Jesus. And it's like, what are you talking about? That's so impractical. That doesn't make any sense. Or they think anything secular is automatically sinful. And that's not necessarily the case. There's a difference between something being secular and something being sinful. Something that's secular can be sinful, but something that's secular can also be sacred. Don't believe me? What are we on right now? All of us are on our phones. I'm on my iPhone right now. I don't like iPhones, but I have an iPhone. I'm probably going to leave this and go back to Samsung in the future. But anyway, I'm on my iPhone right now. If I was watching porn with this, my phone is a secular phone. If I'm watching porn, I'm now using it to do something that is now satanic or sinful. But because I'm on here talking about God, talking about helping people in their relationships, things like that, it is now being used for a beautiful, sacred, glorious cause. And that's just what it is. Things can be secular and be used in a way that's glorious to God. Things can be secular and be used in a way where it's satanic. Same thing with music. Y'all don't know, a lot of the secular artists that some of y'all listen to, there are Christian producers that actually make some of their beats. But sometimes as Christians, you'll hear a beat and you think it's sinful because Lil Baby rapped on it. But it's like, what if you knew a Christian actually made that beat? Does that now not make the beat sinful? Like, is the beat sinful now? On the flip side, there are Christian artists like Lecrae, where sometimes Lecrae has worked with Young Metro. He's worked with, I am about to go through a list of artists. Lecrae's worked with all different types of secular artists. Is that beat now holy because a Christian rapper rapped on it, or is the beat secular? Okay, what about if it's a beat that was made for a secular artist, but then later on a Christian artist came and took the beat like Bizzle and did a remix to it? And so these are, we get into little weird things. But anyway, I'm bringing this up because people who are, again, very socially weird and they haven't really experienced life, they don't know how to truly process these things. If they don't understand it, it's automatically sinful. And so I say this all the time, like 90 to 95% of the music I listen to is Christian music, but I'm not against secular music. I listen to the little three song track that Drake just dropped. I know Nipsey Hussle. I know all these artists. I know Kodak Black, Lil Baby, DaBaby, all of these different artists. And within that, I seem less socially awkward or less socially weird. Now, I don't believe every Christian needs to do things the way that I'm doing them. Nevertheless, this is what sometimes can make a Christian man or woman seem less appealing or less attractive, is because really they're just less relatable. They're socially awkward. They're weird. They know how to quote scripture, but they don't know how to tell a joke, or they don't know how to laugh at a joke. If the joke has a curse word in it, they act like it has sinful cooties now. Like they can't laugh at the joke when it's clearly funny. And so when we're talking about the whole notion of why are Christian men or Christian women boring or not exciting, in reality, that's basically what it is people just being out of touch, them being impractical, them not being normal. And the best thing that actually helps people is really them just being around other believers, other people that are more practical and more normal. And I mean, I brought some Christians around who were extremely weird and awkward, and it took them a couple years, but eventually they were able to be more socially acceptable. Obviously, the line that we want to be careful to not like stray is the line of, okay, I'm now being sinful for the sake of being socially acceptable. And that's the line that we end up crossing more often than not. And that's the line we got to be careful about. You know, sometimes Christians will be thinking like, okay, well, this is cool though. This is what everyone else is doing. And again, we still have to make sure we're still honoring God, honoring our walk with God, honoring our purpose above being socially acceptable. You know, holiness is still the standard above being socially acceptable. But again, we just have to be careful to not make things sinful that aren't sinful, or make things evil that aren't evil. Even if we're talking about something like twerking, and that's like a very tough thing, I think twerking is dope. I love it when women are twerking, but I don't watch women twerk. I don't follow like videos and watch women twerking videos. I don't do that. If I'm on the Explore page and I see a video of women twerking, I'm going to press on the video and click not interested, so that way I don't see videos like that come up. That's not because I think twerking is sinful. That's just because I understand that as a man that I'm attracted to that. And it's a very slippery slope between, okay, I'm watching women twerk, I'm admiring them twerking, to now I'm just looking at a bunch of like half-naked women all the time who clearly ain't my wife. And now I'm lusting, now I'm watching porn, And that's just kind of like the route it goes. And I know the game. I'm not stupid. And so, but if we're talking about twerking, sometimes people act as if twerking itself is sinful, when twerking itself is not necessarily sinful, especially if we're talking about certain cultures, certain Caribbean cultures, certain African cultures, even certain Latin cultures. There are certain movements where, yes, those movements are seductive, sexual, whatever, but those things are part of those people's culture, to where like literally women are doing those dances even if men aren't around, and they're celebrating each other, championing each other. Ladies, y'all know how y'all be doing it. Y'all be like, yes, boo, get it, boo, get it, boo. Y'all be doing y'all whole thing. Y'all don't need men around for that. But again, my bad. We get off topic. I'm kind of going on a little rant real quick, but basically, yeah, that's why some kingdom men seem not exciting or boring. It's usually because they were raised away from like normal people, normal interactions, or the opposite. They were raised around it. Now they're a Christian and they're so fearful of falling back into their old ways. Now they act super awkward and weird around any of that stuff. But that's when we start to delve into like neurology and like our neurons, where we have neurological pathways, and we start to delve into psychology. Like even like with music. When I first got saved, I was so used to strip clubs that even when I heard Christian beats, when I heard beats that were produced by Christians, if they were trap beats, I couldn't. It took me about a good year before I was able to listen to Christian music without thinking about strip clubs, because just hearing a trap beat, my neurological pathways were set up to whenever I heard that type of beat, it triggered me and made me think about strip clubs. But after a while of me listening to the music in a different context, it wasn't a strip club. In a different context, it wasn't even a club. Me listening to those types of beats in the context of being at the gym, in the context of being at some type of Christian party, some Christian hangout, over time, it changed the way that I heard those beats. Now I have the opposite problem. Now, if I'm at the gym and I take my headphones out and I hear some little baby song playing or some Future song that's playing, subconsciously I'll think that it's a Christian song until I hear them say a curse word. It's because I've retrained my mind to now no longer see the beat as sinful. It's now about the lyrics and the words. So again, the Bible talks about renewing your mind, and we don't even understand like how deep that actually goes when it talks about renewing your mind. You said define normal though. You want godly normal or worldly normal? Exactly, advocate for my boring Christian brother. Look, we'll define sinful.